The smell of disinfectant, cold as a snake, slithered into my bandage-wrapped nostrils. Marcus stood in the shadow of the hospital room's Venetian blinds, his custom-tailored suit cuffs pressed crisp, the tick of his Rolex sharp and cruel against the faint thud of my heartbeat. "Isabella," he said, avoiding my face, his gaze fixed on the wilting white tulips by the bedside, "our third wedding anniversary gift. We need to talk." My throat, scorched by the fire, felt like swallowing shards of glass when I spoke. "About the skin graft? Or the eyelid sutures next week?" "Divorce." He pulled a document from his briefcase and slid it across to me. "I've finalized the property settlement. The brownstone is yours, plus $20,000. Compensation, of sorts." The words, divorce agreement, burned into my eyes. His signature, flamboyant as ever, matched the one on our marriage certificate exactly. Compensation? I laughed, the movement tearing at my unhealed wounds until I trembled with pain. "Marcus, do you remember the beach in Puerto Rico? I cut my leg on coral, bleeding so much you carried me 2 kilometers to a clinic. You said even if I became a cripple, you'd push my wheelchair to watch the ocean for the rest of my life." His face stiffened for a split second before he turned away, his Adam's apple bobbing as he spat out something crueler. "That was then. Look at you now, you can't even bear to look in a mirror, can you? Don't make me say the word, monster, dot." No sooner had he spoken than the door slammed open. Marcus's mother Agnes strode in on stiletto heels, the metal chains on her Chanel suit jangling like an accompaniment to the humiliation. She didn't glance at my bandaged face, addressing Marcus directly. "I told you a poor Jewish girl was bad news. Now you're stuck with this. How are we supposed to take you to the Marston Group galas?" When she finally flicked her eyes to me, they were like poisoned icicles. "Be sensible and sign, Isabella. Marcus is taking over the family's pharmaceutical division, and that face of yours will scare off every client." Emily followed close behind, waving a crumpled copy of our prenuptial agreement. The glitter on her nails dazzled my eyes. "Read it carefully. It says, joint ownership of research, but it doesn't say you get to cling to it after ruining your face. The brownstone was bought with trust fund money from Marcus's grandfather. You didn't pay a cent of the down payment. What right do you have to it?" She leaned in, her voice lowered but loud enough to cut. "I checked, your skin grafts will cost at least $80,000. $20,000 from Marcus is generosity itself. Kick up a fuss, and you'll get nothing. Can your parents' meager pensions cover a bottomless pit like you?" Their words lashed at my raw spots. I wasn't just disfigured, to them, I was a burden who relied on a man to survive. I suddenly understood, Marcus's coldness wasn't a momentary lapse, but the deep-seated arrogance and calculation of his entire family. I was just a chess piece to be discarded when useless. "Get out." With every ounce of strength, my throat splitting until the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. Agnes laughed as if she'd heard the funniest joke of the century, pressing a hand to her mouth until her eyes watered. "Do you still think you're the researcher who publishes in Nature? I've already called the NYU president. They'll issue a statement next week naming Marcus as your project's new lead. After all, someone who can't even protect herself doesn't deserve to oversee a multi-million-dollar study." Marcus stood behind them, silent the whole time, staring at his watch as if this humiliation had nothing to do with him. When they slammed the door shut, I crumpled the divorce papers into a ball and hurled it at his suit. It bounced off and fell to the floor. He bent to pick it up, brushing off the creases with a tone as casual as discussing the weather. "My flight to Los Angeles for the meeting is at 4. Sign it and have the nurse pass it to my lawyer." He turned to leave, the hem of his blazer brushing my hand, cold as ice, no trace of regret. When Nurse Lucia came in, I was staring at the ceiling, tears streaming down. The plump Puerto Rican woman sighed and handed me a cup of warm honey water. "Honey, after my husband lost his leg in a car crash, he still makes me mofongo every day." That man isn't worth your tears. She adjusted my foredrip. Oh, and there's a sealed package for you at the nurse's station, sent from Boston. Inside was a CD and a crumpled note, the handwriting scrawled, "The explosion wasn't an accident. Watch Marcus." The surveillance footage on the CD was grainy, but clear enough to show Marcus an hour before the blast, slipping an envelope to the HVAC technician, who then tucked a small black device into the vent. It wasn't lab equipment. Cold sweat soaked through my hospital gown. I remembered how, a week before the explosion, Marcus had pestered me about the catalyst's core formula and the patent application progress. I'd thought he was just concerned. Now I saw his questions for what they were, calculated probes. My project's patent would fetch at least $10 million, and our prenuptial agreement stated all marital research belonged to both of us. Divorce was never what he wanted. He wanted my life, and my work. My father called just as I got in touch with Lucia's cousin, a NYPD detective specializing in white-collar crime. "Bella, your mother and I are flying to New York tomorrow." His voice was steady. "I've hired a lawyer who specializes in patent disputes." My mother snatched the phone, her voice breaking with worry. "Sweetheart, don't make this ugly, it'll ruin your reputation. If it comes to it, take the money and sign the papers." "Mom, that's my life's work." I cut her off. "I won't let him destroy me and walk away with everything I built." Her sigh felt like a thorn in my chest. I knew she was scared for me, but submission wouldn't earn respect, it would only make them more greedy. On the day I was discharged, Marcus's lawyer arrived promptly, pressuring me to sign. "Ms. Isabella, Mr. Marcus has already made concessions. Delay any longer, and you might get nothing." I took the pen, then pulled out the CD. "Give this to Marcus. We meet at the FBI office at 10 tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'm taking all this evidence to the prosecutor." The lawyer's face turned ashen. On my way home, I stopped at a supermarket to buy bandages and painkillers. I'd barely reached the skincare aisle when a little girl in a princess dress hid behind her mother, pointing and screaming, "Mommy, a monster." Her mother hurried to muffle her, but stared at me with that mixture of pity and disgust. As she dragged the child away, I heard her whisper, "Stay far away from people like that." Heads popped out from behind shelves, the glow of phone cameras stinging my eyes. I clutched my basket and ran to the checkout. The elderly woman in front of me spun around and spat at my feet. "Filthy thing. Don't stand so close." The cashier slammed my items down as she scanned them, the barcode gun scraping my hand until I flinched. She rolled her eyes. "Quit your drama, plenty of people have it worse." I dropped my things and fled, the sun on my face doing nothing to warm the chill seeping from my bones. I'd barely reached the corner when my phone rang. It was the Pfizer liaison. "Dar. Isabella, I'm sorry to inform you we're terminating our partnership." "Why?" "Our data is perfect." My voice shook. "The data is fine, but your current situation." He hesitated, his uncertainty more cutting than a direct refusal. "The board believes the project lead's public image will hurt product promotion. Besides, Mr. Marcus contacted us yesterday. He says he's taken over your lab." I hung up, only to see a text from my advisor, "Bella, I applied for disability benefits for you, enough to live on for 2 years. You don't need to work this hard. Find a decent man and settle down. Give up the research." Every word screamed the truth. My worth had vanished the moment my face was burned. I crouched under a sycamore tree and cried, not for the scars, but for the trust and passion I'd lost. The love I'd gambled my youth on, the career I'd risked my life for, all shattered by the word appearance. Lucia found me in her beat-up Ford, huddled with my knees to my chest, covered in sycamore leaves. She pressed a warm mofongo, a traditional Puerto Rican dish made of fried plantains, into my hand and handed me a bank statement. My cousin dug this up. 3 days after the explosion, Marcus transferred $1 million from your joint account to his mother's name. That money was your grandfather's inheritance, your research startup fund. The transfer date blazed on the page. He also secretly mortgaged the brownstone for $50,000, his deposit for the Los Angeles meeting. I bit into the mofongo, the sweetness of banana mixing with the salt of my tears. The $20,000 in compensation he'd offered was just a fraction of my own money, tossed to me like a beggar's coin. He'd never wanted divorce, he wanted my life, my work, and every last cent I owned. We can't lose. Lucia wiped the tears and leaves from my face. I'll go with you to the FBI tomorrow. The harder they try to crush us, the stronger we stand. That night, I stayed at her house. Her little boy Miguel clung to my arm, his chubby hand brushing the edge of my bandage, speaking broken English. Sister, scars are hero medals. My daddy has one, he's a firefighter who saves people. The child's sincerity was a flicker of light piercing the darkness. I suddenly realized, my face wasn't ugly. Marcus's scheming was, Agnes's arrogance was, the people hiding behind their phones were. Their souls were 1,000 times dirtier than my scars. I arrived at the FBI office half an hour early the next morning. To my surprise, Marcus was already there, his gray jumpsuit hanging loose, his once groomed blonde hair matted, stubble covering his jaw. Cuffed to a chair, he lurched to his feet when he saw me, the chair scraping loudly. Bella! You're here. Tell them the vice president tricked me. He forced me to do this. A detective pressed his shoulder down, speaking coldly. He turned himself in at 10 last night, named the Pfizer VP, but shifted all the blame to him. Marcus's eyes were red-rimmed, tears streaming down his face. The elegant man I'd known was gone, reduced to a whimpering stray. Bella, I'm so sorry. He reached through the bars, his fingers almost touching mine before I stepped back. The gesture doused the last spark of hope in his eyes. I was crazy. The VP said we'd make 10 million if we got your formula. I was going to take you to Switzerland for the best plastic surgery. We could have been like before. Like before? I cut him off, my voice flat and empty. Like when you called me a monster in the hospital? Like when you stole my grandfather's inheritance? Or like when you stood silent while your mother humiliated me? I placed the CD on the bars. This is footage of you bribing the technician. And I filed for asset seizure, every cent you stole, every dollar from the mortgage, it's all coming back. He bowed his head, shoulders shaking, muttering, I'm sorry, over and over. I looked at him, feeling neither hatred nor pain, only a barren calm, like watching a stranger atone for their mistakes. You didn't wrong me. You wronged yourself. I turned and walked away, never looking back. The corridor light stretched my shadow long. I knew, in that moment, our lives had irrevocably split. The sun stung as I left the FBI. My father called, his lawyer had recovered the stolen funds, the brownstone's mortgage lifted. Your mother knows she was wrong, his voice softened. She cried all night, saying she shouldn't have told you to back down. I smiled, the weight in my chest finally lifting. In the weeks that followed, I handled the divorce and restarted my project. My NYU colleagues were wary, some whispered, why bother, looking like that? But young female researchers sought me out. Dr. Isabella, we believe in you. We want to help. Their support was like beacons lighting my path. Marcus's mother appeared at my lab while I adjusted the catalyst's purity. She wasn't in Chanel, just a faded wool sweater, her hair mostly gray. Clutching a brown envelope, she stood at the door like a guilty child. Isabella, her voice trembled, stripped of its arrogance. This is the million Marcus stole, plus 50,000 of my own. Compensation. She held out the envelope. I didn't take it. Her hand froze midair, and she burst into tears. It's my fault. I raised him to climb, to never let poor people drag him down. I thought you weren't good enough for him, but now I see, he's not good enough for you. Please, can you write a letter of leniency for the judge? He's still young. He doesn't deserve to be ruined. I turned off the equipment and faced her. Sunlight streamed through the lab windows, gilding her gray hair. I remembered her words in the hospital room. My heart was calm, as if listening to someone else's story. Mrs. Marston, my tone even. I can't take your money, the law will return what's mine. And I won't write that letter. She looked up, eyes desperate. I know you hate him, but he's learned his lesson. I don't hate him, I interrupted. My heart has grown cold. When I lay in the ICU, tubes in every vein, he was haggling with the VP over my patent. When strangers photographed me like a freak, he was at a champagne gala in Los Angeles. He gave me no mercy when he hurt me, don't ask me to give him any now. She stared, tears flowing harder, before turning and stumbling away, the envelope pressed to her chest. The lab was quiet, only the soft hum of machines. I looked at the clear catalyst sample in my hand, pure, all impurities filtered away, just like my heart. 3 months later, my catalyst went into mass production. At the launch event, I wore a simple white shirt, no concealer, my scars plain to see under the lights. Reporters and investors whispered, but I smiled and lifted the microphone. Today, I want to tell you a story. I spoke of the explosion, Marcus's betrayal, the discrimination I'd faced. These scars once made me feel like a monster. I touched my right cheek, my voice steady. But now I know, they're medals of courage. They remind me that a woman's worth is never defined by her face. It lives in her wisdom, in her refusal to give up. The room erupted in applause. The Pfizer representative stood, bowing deeply. Dr. Isabella, we apologize for our prejudice. We want to restart our partnership. I nodded, tears finally falling, not of sorrow, but of joy. After the event, my mother hugged me, sobbing. My girl, you're amazing. I was so stupid before. My father clapped my shoulder, pride in his voice. I always knew you'd prevail. Lucia arrived with her family. Miguel tucked a red hibiscus behind my ear. Sister, it's Puerto Rico's national flower, for resilience. With the patent royalties, I bought a house with a garden in Boston, bringing my parents to live with me. Lucia's family visited often. In the lab, I led a team of young researchers, working on new projects. When students asked about my scars, I told them my story. Setbacks aren't meant to break us. They're meant to make us stronger. One night, working late, I received an anonymous email from Marcus's cellmate. Attached was a photo, Marcus in a gray jumpsuit, folding laundry in the prison laundry room. His once smooth hands were rough, his face worn. The message read, he writes letters of apology every day, saying he's sorry. He applied for parole, says he wants to volunteer with burn victims when he gets out. I stared at the photo for 3 minutes, then deleted it. Not out of cruelty, but indifference. His remorse, his future, they had nothing to do with me. Just as I'd had no place in his future when he planned the explosion. Moonlight spilled over my notebook, where new research plans waited. I touched my scars, their skin had softened. I thought of Agnes's arrogance, Emily's greed, the cold stares in the supermarket. Those hurts had shown me the truth of people's hearts, and revealed my own worth. My phone rang, Lucia, shouting with joy. Honey! That vice president got convicted too. We're celebrating with Puerto Rican food tonight. I laughed and agreed, turning off the lab lights. The evening breeze carried the scent of spring as I walked out. A flower shop on the corner was still open, hibiscus blooms glowing like flames. I went in and bought a bouquet. Walking down the street, I caught my reflection in a shop window, scars faint in the moonlight, but my eyes bright with a resolve I'd never known. I'd thought the explosion would destroy me, that divorce would break me. But now I understood, every setback is a gift. It strips away false love, and reveals your true self. My face might never be perfect, but my life was just beginning to shine its brightest. Those who hurt me would reap what they'd sown. And I would carry these medals forward, courage in my heart, toward a future more brilliant than I'd ever imagined. As the subway pulled in, I held the hibiscus higher. Passengers saw my scars and didn't flinch, one smiled. "That flower suits you." I smiled back, knowing the world was imperfect, but warmth always waited. I'd long since removed my wedding ring, but I felt its warmth still, not on my finger, but in my work, in my family's love, in every dawn and dusk I'd fought to keep going. Steady and true.